when people talk about coming out, they sometimes forget that it's not just a one-time thing. It's sort of a process. You first tell your family and your friends and your coworkers, and then maybe eventually later everyone in the whole. But I kind of had an experience like that. I remember the first time I ever told anybody. It was the 9th of September last year. I had just recently scheduled an appointment to talk to a therapist. Still haven't gotten that appointment, by the way, but I'll talk about that another day. I just scheduled the appointment, and I really wanted to share the news with someone, but I didn't have anyone to tell it to. So I decided. At this point, I'd been playing it very close to the chest. I'd been transitioning or at least knew I was trans for a couple of months at this point, and I was finally starting to seek treatment, and nobody knew. I made sure of that. So I finally decided it was about time to tell somebody. So I'd have someone to talk to about all this sort of stuff, vent my frustrations, share my successes, compare notes, those sorts of things. And the only trans person I was friends with at the time was Jessie. So I ended up telling her that night about myself and my plans. She was very surprised. If you've ever seen how I looked before, you wouldn't have guessed. But yeah, I told her, and she was very happy for me and excited, and kind of excited herself to have another trans friend to like talk about things with and share her thoughts and feelings. It was really nice, and for the next couple of months, she was the only person I had to talk to about this stuff. But I'm really glad she was there for me a lot, and that was great. That was also the same day that I filmed the first half of my coming out video. Since I had a YouTube channel before, I knew that someday I would be making that coming out video and sharing the news with the world. So I decided, pre-medical transition everything, to pop up the camera, record a message for the future, and someday, many, many, many months later, I could record the rest and just edit it together. So that's what I did. I knew for sure at that point, and I recorded half of the coming out video. From that point on, it was maybe a couple of months before I told anybody else. A lot happened in those months. I ended up starting HRT, and I was kind of preparing to come out and tell everyone until one day. It was a couple of weeks before Christmas, I think. I just was overcome with this sudden urge. I have to tell my mother. At the time, I was living with my parents, so they were going to notice eventually. These were back in the days where I pretty much spent all of my time in my massively oversized dysphoria hoodie, which had turned into the hide the fact that I'm medically transitioning hoodie. Fortunately, I was able to play off some of the physical changes by, oh yeah, I'm losing weight. That's why I look a little different now. Worked for a while, but I knew it wasn't going to last forever, so I figured I had to tell her. And so I did. I remember I was in my bedroom and standing in front of my bedroom door, hand on the knob for like 5 minutes, just thinking to myself, I have to do this, and I have to do this now, but I'm scared. I don't know how she's going to react. That was a big thing with my parents, is I could not get a read on them for months. I spent so much time paying very close attention to see if they ever mentioned like LGBT issues or like thoughts or opinions. And I got nothing that could, one way or the other, could have gone any way. So I was rolling the dice a little bit here, but I just was overcome with this feeling of I have to do this, and I have to do this right now. So I did. After many minutes of like psyching myself up and mentally preparing, I went out there to go and tell her, and she wasn't there. This literally never happens, but of all days, this day, She had gone, apparently the neighbors had gotten like a piece of our mail or something like that. So she was across the street talking to the neighbors. And I was just sitting there, a glass of water in hand, just trembling for like 5 minutes while she was out there, knowing as soon as she came back, she knew something was up and we'd talk. So yeah, she came back in and she immediately knew that we needed to have a conversation, and I told her, and she was very confused at first, but her main sentiment was just, I don't exactly understand what's going on, but I don't care, I love you anyway. And that was such a massive relief. So, yeah, mad props to my parents for being open-minded about all of this. Yeah, so I told her. Her initial response was very positive. In the following weeks, it kind of shifted into her coming to me every couple days, like, are you sure? Are you absolutely sure? And I was like, yes, mother. I very intentionally waited until I had been on hormones for several months before I told you, just so that you'd know how serious I was about this. And eventually she kind of got a better understanding after many, many long talks about, like, what does it mean to be trans and gender issues and those sorts of things. Yeah, and she and my father are both totally on board with this whole thing. And they've been very supportive, and in fact, they're the ones who helped me with getting my own place. So, hi, Mom and Dad. Thank you. After that, I had a very similar experience with work. It was early in the year this year, and we had hired a whole batch of new people. And I work for a company that's very LGBT friendly. They're very clear in their discrimination and harassment policy that is not tolerated whatsoever. And I knew that, but it's different, like, reading it on policy and, like, seeing it in action. And that actually happened. Early in the year, maybe around January, February, we had some new hires start, and one of them talked to my head boss and explained that they are non-binary. And when that email went out telling all of us, I was just ecstatic, because my manager was fully supportive, very adamantly on board with it, and wanted to help educate everyone and make sure that everyone was kind and respectful to them. And that was a good day when that went out, because I knew that eventually when I was ready to tell them, it would go equally well, and I had nothing to worry about. There was a period for a little while where I was so tempted to tell this coworker of mine for the longest time about me and my transition, but I was afraid that they'd accidentally say something to someone else and it would get out before I was ready for it, so I had to keep my mouth shut. Fast forwarding a little bit, me and them are very good friends now and we see each other all the time. It's great. But anyway, so a little later on, I think it was the very beginning of March, somewhere around there, similar to when I told my mother, I was just hit with this urge of, like, this weird impulse of, I need to tell my bosses right now. I don't know why, but I just feel the need to do this. So I just sent an email, like, to all of my managers at once, like, hey, can I talk to you about something? It's nothing bad, but I need a private conversation with you about something important. So I went to my boss's office, and, like, the three of them were gathered around, and I broke the news. And they were thrilled to hear it. They were very happy for me. One of my poor bosses, he literally started tearing up. It was so sweet. They're all great. And I'm so thankful to work where I do with them. And they let me know I had 1,000% had their support. They told me, if anyone ever gives you a hard time, you just say the word and we will tear them a new asshole. And I had a long conversation with my boss about how we would go about telling everyone else. What we ended up deciding on was, at the very end of March, I was at the beach on vacation for a week with some friends. And while I was gone, she held a department meeting and told everyone what was going on, so that my first day back after vacation, when I returned, I could be fully out. And that's exactly what happened. So everyone at work has been super cool about it ever since I came out, and I've been out. I don't think some of the people in other departments have caught on, even though it's kind of obvious. Once we put all our like safety gear and stuff on, it's really hard to tell everyone apart. But things at work have been great, and I'm pretty sure that, yeah, that was the very beginning of April. So I guess the big last one was when I told the world. It was shortly after I'd been out at work, and I was starting to get comfortable being myself around other people and in public. That was a bit of an adjustment. So I figured, well, I can't make any more videos until I say something. So let's go ahead and just do that now. And so I did. I finally pulled up that first half of my coming out video, and however many months later, I filmed the rest and put it together, and it aired mid-April. And the world now knows. For those who follow my content and or are friends of mine who aren't like in my close social circle, or live further away, or like old college buddies of mine. So they all know. And honestly, the experience has been great. I've received surprisingly very little like negative feedback. Only one person has been kind of giving me a hard time about it, so I just stopped talking to them. But yeah, it's, and I feel so bad because my transition on the whole, I feel like it has been the best case scenario every single time. Especially for coming out. It's been nothing but a positive experience for me. And I know it's not the same for everyone else. And I feel my heart goes out to all of you out there who want to tell everyone, but you know that you're in a situation where it's not safe. So while I wish the best for all of you, just remember to put your safety first before coming out yourself to friends and to family. Make sure that you'll be all right if it goes badly. And for the once you feel that, you'll feel this like urge just to tell everyone. And generally, from what I've found, a lot of good can come out of just following your instincts and doing what feels right. So listen to your gut feelings sometimes, because it can guide you in the right direction. Well, if you'll excuse me, I have to leave this closet. I'll see you all next time.